on my life path, there are people who have been extraordinary to me, of extraordinary impact. And that's not all the same. It's not every person I've met. There have been people who, for whatever reason, because of them, because of me, because of the relationship, who just have had an extraordinary impact on my life. As we were doing the first one, all these people raced through my mind, but the first one I thought of was my dad. I mean, there's a story of my relationship with my dad, but I'm not into the whole story of it, but except that he had a profound impact on me. Well, and probably most of our dads do, but I'm speaking for mine. I mean, he was just an incredible man. I learned so much from him. And I could name many others. So I want to jump to the bottom line in all this. What I see is the bottom line, and that is that how do I want to be with someone who is extraordinary? I want to be open to be changed by them, changed by the encounter, transformed, become something not totally other than what I've been, but to be uplifted and to grow in such a way that I have a greater experience of myself and who I am in this life. So I think for that to happen, it takes some kind of, I'll say, first of all, just a process, right? So first, if there's someone who's going to be like that for you, you have to be open to see it, to recognize it. Right? Like if you're not going to recognize it, you're not likely to respond to it, open to it, appreciate it, understand it. So I think there's some kind of process in there that goes like that. We see it. We are, in some sense, my word for it is bowled over by that person, and how they're extraordinary. And then there is an interest in what they're doing. Like, wow, that's remarkable. And I'm really describing how it is for me, nothing more than that. Wow, that's remarkable. And then I think, how did they get like that? And then what do they know? What do they know that I don't know? And then how could I learn that? How could I be that? And in all that, isn't there some kind of passion? There is for me. It's like, I want that. My passion to be that just moves me. I think Fran might have mentioned this woman. She was speaking at Keahi's graduation in a leadership program she was taking, put on by the local chambers of Greeley, Loveland, and Fort Collins. And she had for years been the human resource manager of Southwest. If you've ever flown Southwest Airlines, they're extraordinary. Like, everybody's happy. The flight attendants are cutting up over the loudspeaker, making jokes and, keeping everybody happy. And she spoke. Never met this woman before in my life, never heard of her, but she spoke, and she spoke about having the courage to lead according to your values. And she talked about how Southwest did that, and how much they believed in people, cared about people, wanted to make people feel safe, secure, and openly used the word love with their employees. And this was started by the founder. And so I was watching her, And I was a little bit like Jerry, except not on LSD at the time. Some people see auras regularly and like in Technicolor or something. And that's not me, but I do sometimes at the rarest of and most unusual of times sometimes see auras. And I did on this woman. So she's just bringing it, totally bringing it. And you can feel the heart of this woman who believes in what she's doing. And you can feel the hearts behind her, like of the leaders of this company. And you can feel the authenticity of it. And she's doing this. And then I start looking at her and she just lights up like there's this white cloud enveloping her all around her. And then she's going on this. Anyway, hugely inspired me. It there's a few feelings in the midst of that. It's like, wow, I've fallen short. Like, I haven't been all of the leader that I want to be. Like, so in light of what she was bringing, it's like, wow, I could do better. And then it was an interest to just perceive what was authentic about her, what she was saying, and the principles that she was espousing. And honestly, it's changed me. It has really, it's a big deal for me how I am here at Sunrise Ranch. It changed how I am here at Sunrise Ranch. It truly did. So I would be sad if I was too old to be changed. I know I'm old, but if I was too old to be changed, so I don't buy into you get changed when you're young and then you grow old and it's like, oh. And here she is, she's an airline executive. But how about people who have extraordinary spiritual experiences or spiritual message to bring? I've known a few people like that in my life, at least. And like I say, I have that desire to allow myself to be changed by what is extraordinary about them. So in the service on Sunday, and it's reflected in the Pulse of Spirit, I talk about what stops a person from being changed by an extraordinary person. And there could be a lot of things. I think there could be just a kind of general callousness. It's like, no big deal. There could be fault finding. Jane mentioned that, seeing the limitations of the person. I have learned so much from people who had huge limitations. But I just found a way early on in my life. In some way, circumstances taught me. It was unavoidable, it seemingly. Unavoidable to find out that people are at times deeply flawed, but with great gifts. And then what are you going to do? And so I was just faced with that dilemma, which I solved by welcoming the gifts and in some cases defending myself against the faults eventually. So I think that's one way people avoid being changed by someone extraordinary, just by writing someone off as being limited or having faults. There can be simply callousness or blaseness about it. Well, who cares? I've got my own life to lead kind of thing. Then I think in the mix, which is what I pointed to in the service, is what I think is likely the biggest factor. I think it's likely the biggest factor generally. So if it's not necessarily a spiritual arena in which all this is happening, but it's just in life, just anybody. But I think it's particularly true in the spiritual arena that lack of faith as I put it, in oneself is quite a factor. But I'm going to go further in how I describe that. In the Pulse, I call it lack of faith in the creator inside oneself. So it's not so much lack of faith in one's own personality or one's own human capacity. It's lack of faith in the creative power, the originating creative power that's within you. And to use the religious word for it, the God in you. It's lack of faith that the God in you has the ability to bring something of supreme spiritual value through you. And understanding that none of us are going to do it like the next person. That's part of this deal here, is you can't do it like that extraordinary person that you've met. You can't do it like Gandhi, and you can't do it like Buddha. You don't even know how they did it really. You can't do it like Jesus. You got to do it as you. But to do it as you have to have faith in the Creator inside you, or the God inside you. If you don't, you are destined to either reject that extraordinary person, reject them, treat them like they're just like everybody else, like they're not that extraordinary, or to idolize them. That was a little bit my whole point about the Beatles. It's like you could idolize the Beatles, and many did, but you could also learn from them. But to learn, you would have to believe that you have within you some kind of corresponding creative capacity. And not everybody's going to play the guitar and sing or write songs, but everybody has creative capacity. And there is something about what they were doing that's relevant to everybody in this room and everyone in the world. So the originality of just saying something fresh and new and unique that isn't like what anybody else is doing exactly, and it's not like the last thing you did. It's just letting it flow through and having faith in what is flowing through you. That is the biggest lesson they taught me. I thought, wow, how did they do that? And there are other people like that you could point to that do that. But I was making the point that, which I suppose I'm making again now, that faith in yourself, but not, as I say, not just faith in your previous experience or faith in your human makeup or something. That's in there, but it's more importantly, faith in the creative power within you, the genius within you. It doesn't originate just in your own brain or in your own capacity. And if you have that kind of faith is contagious. That kind of faith is contagious. And it's contagious without even trying, right? Meaning that you almost, if you live your life that way, you almost automatically see other people in that light. If you have faith in the God within you, yourself, you have faith in the God within anybody else. It's just how it works, in my experience. And then it's not going to do much good, usually, to go up to someone and say, hey, I have the faith in the God within you. Maybe that is something like that is there to say. But most importantly, you just live and breathe it, and the people around you feel it. They know it. I believe that's true faith. A far more important faith than a faith that there's a God up in heaven someplace, apart from us. You could still be a person who lives a life without faith faith in yourself, faith in life itself. You could have faith in a God someplace else, but then not have the kind of faith that a human being needs, the kind of faith that changes the world. So that's my aspiration, I would say, for myself, to be that person who shares that kind of faith. And it is my aspiration for us as a spiritual community. I'll say, can you imagine? Like, if that kind of faith was really emanating from us powerfully as a collective, as a group of people, because it was happening for each one of us individually. Can you imagine? Like, to be in that space, right? For someone else to enter that space in whatever way, because they visit Sunrise Ranch, because they read something that one of us wrote, or see a video, come to an online program, or whatever. There are all the specifics of whatever teaching and message there is. But isn't it this that backs up whatever the outer form of what we offer might be? The fact that we have faith, true faith in them. And I'll mention someone who's got that kind of faith. And it's Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Incredible. But what did she say to you? She met with Keahi this last time she was here.
Keep going, Sunrise Ranch.
The world needs you, right?
The world needs Sunrise Ranch.
Keep going. Like, she's talked to me that in different terms, but in a way that just conveyed her faith in me. She looked at me, this a few years ago. She looked at me and she says, "You're pulling a long train." That was her way of appreciating me and supporting me in doing the work that I was doing. You're pulling a long train. That's a very Dr. Estes thing to say. But she has the heart and the spirit to back it up. Then she was with Shireen. Shireen told me the story, and Linda, I think, and Bob. Yes, Bob too. In the gift shop, and the gift shop was broken into some little while back, and Dr. Estes had heard about it, and she came in there, and she said she could feel it, and with them did a clearing of the space. It took her something like 2 hours, and her assistant Nona was with her, and her assistant Nona said, "I gotta go do something," and Dr. Estes said something like, "Yeah, go ahead, I'm not done," you know. But that's an act of faith in us, because whatever else was going on, she was putting her faith in us on the line by doing that. And let me tell you, when she does that, you can feel it. She's that kind of person. Well, anyway, that's what I got to bring here tonight. And thanks for being part of this evening, for sharing this just essential topic.